Hello, friend. Today we're going behind the brand of Mastermind Executive Coaching. Now, I'm super excited for this one because I feel like it's going to touch a lot of people who are asking themselves that question. Do I need a rebrand? Do I need a rebrand? I don't know. Do I need a rebrand? Let's dive into Mastermind Executive Coaching because Beth Masterman, when she came to me, she came through colleagues of mine who had already helped her with some website stuff and with some messaging stuff and some content writing stuff. And there was that question of, do I really need this? She had been told very strongly by her website person that this is a thing that she needed. But did she really? The reality is Beth knew who she was. She knew who she was. She didn't need me to tell her who she was. Yes, it was going to be helpful for her to have updated visuals, but it's not going to break anything. It might make some things, but it's not going to break anything. So she came to me and we chatted and we talked about it. And there was this looming question of, why now? Why am I doing this now? She's established. She was established at the time. She had clients. People knew her, but she felt like she was missing something, and that maybe this was going to be the piece to fill in that empty space that she was missing. And so we worked on it, and as the project progressed, what I realized was that the biggest thing that Beth needed help with was trusting herself. She is an incredibly brilliant woman. She is an executive coach. She knows her stuff. She has a background in psychology. She is a fascinating person with so much depth and breadth. And what I saw on the surface of her brand was none of the richness of her personality and her intelligence. So I wanted to give that to her. And I love this story because there's so much. You can look at the surface of this and think, oh, it's just another executive coaching brand. Not true. Not true. This is so specifically Beth Masterman. Now, I'm starting by showing you the cover. This is a tour of her style guide. We're going to just take a tour of Beth Masterman's style guide for Mastermind Executive Coaching so that you can see what she saw when we were complete with the job. So the cover page, I wanted to call out this phenomenal thing that we had come to, incorporating her love of the arts with mixing in some of the femininity with the strength and deeper meaning. She is a person with great depth, and I wanted to include deep meaning in her brand. So here we have colors that are a little bit masculine, a little bit feminine, not polarizing. The triangle is one of the strongest shapes in existence. It can take an immense amount of pressure, like Beth Masterman and like executives. And then inside of this abstract looking shape with this shadow behind it to give it even more depth, we have every single letter of her name. Now, that's not an easy thing to do, and it's not a thing that I can do for everyone, but it just worked out so beautifully for Beth. We have the M, we have the A, we have the S, and what it gives her is an easy start to a conversation. She is not a human being who needs to feel validated. She knows that she is good, and yet it is helpful to have these inroads into conversation. She can be a part of a conversation that's going on, and the question comes up, what is this? Or she brings it up, and all of a sudden, it is known that this is a woman who has depth. So, representing who she is in the visuals. And we're going to move on because there's more. So this is the full logo. This is the primary logo. We have her little icon here You will see that gets used in a lot of different ways. And then we have Mastermind Executive Coaching. The fonts and the layout, there's that strength, there's that solid feeling, and the serif and the curves make it a little bit feminine, appropriately feminine for the workplace, and speaking to her personality. And then we have variety, because you need variety. A logo on its own is just a mark on a piece of paper. And what happens when you need it to exist in a different place, in a different format? So we have even just the primary logo then has a secondary version for different orientations. Sometimes it can't fit that long. So we have a second orientation here. And then we have just the icon by itself, which is phenomenal. And we have a little mini version of it that she can use as her fave icon for her website. And then we have a signature, which is not her legal signature. We talked about this. This is sort of like a John Hancock-esque signature, so that nobody can go and forge checks with her legal signature. But it's got that sort of strong academia and historical reference and presence. Again, it's a little bit feminine, but more than anything, it makes a statement. Beth Masterman makes a statement. And then we have it for darker backgrounds. And then colors and fonts, and that's all well and good. These colors were very specific to not wanting to feel, the red and blue can feel a little bit political. We don't want to feel political. But the mix of these sort of medium blue, medium green, medium yellow, medium red, while still strong, they're a little bit jewel tone, like not jewel tone, not pastel. They're strong, but they're soft. Like you could imagine them in velvet. That felt perfect for Beth. Now here's a weird story. And if you know me, you might have heard this before because I think it's amazing. When we were talking on our very first conversation about brand design, I got this image in my head of a texture, this sort of pebbled concrete texture. And I didn't know where it was coming from, but there it was. And I knew it had to be a part of the brand. I also saw these colors because in the background behind Beth, when she's on the call on Zoom, you see these beautiful instruments that are painted, and these colors are in there. It's not exclusively those colors, but they're in there. And then Beth went out and got brand photos done by the amazing, spectacular, wonderful Sandra Costello. And in all of the pictures were touches of the color palette. Before we'd established it, back when it was still just in my brain, the color palette was in all of the pictures. And then we came upon this one photo that she's standing right in front of a painting in her home that I had never seen before, that is the color palette, leaning against a beam that is the texture that I saw in my brain. Wild, just wild. We've got the color palette, we've got the texture. So I knew these things need to be incorporated. They're in my head. I see them somehow, and here's proof. So we have these soft background textures that are still very business appropriate, but approachable. And then we have these, which for some reason I just wanted to include, having this sort of torn, textured, heavy, expensive looking paper. That felt like a good thing to incorporate as well. And I liked the colors, and they fit. They added more softness and depth to the existing color palette. So then we have visual inspiration. This is something that I include in all of my brand design style guides and deliverables, because I can give you a logo and a font and a color palette, and what are you going to do with it? There's so many unanswered questions that need to be answered around those things. So I answered them, and this is how I answered them for Beth. We have, I'm going to zoom in because I think this is great, this icon, her icon, as a lapel pin. How cute on this iconic red jacket. Love it, love it, love it. What a great thing that she can go out and create for herself and wear to every meeting and feel like a badass. Feel like the badass that she is. And then we have how she exists on LinkedIn, because that is her primary place that she will be doing her marketing and networking. And then we have context for how her website can look with the brand, with this, all of this context, all of the information that I am building into her brand. And then we have Canva templates, which I also include in every single brand project because I get to answer questions inside of these Canva templates. As I'm working on them, I am discovering things, missing pieces that I need to find the answer to so that whoever is working with Beth's brand in the future, anyone who's there to support Mastermind Executive Coaching, doesn't have to answer the questions themselves. I'm here to do that. I have already done that for them. So nobody is going to be messing with this strong, powerful adaptation of the brand that we have created together. And then just a little peek into the before and after, because it's important. I'm going to move myself a little bit out of the way because this, it's fine. Just like Beth, she was fine. She was okay. But it's not good enough. She was not giving herself enough credit. She needed to know, one of the things that we talked about in our brand alignment calls was that she wasn't actually missing anything. She had everything that she needed. She didn't need to ask for permission. She didn't need to apologize for anything. She could stand up and say, I am here. We asked the question, why now? Why do this now? And the answer was because she had established herself and the visual brand needed to step up to match where she was. That's it. So you might be asking yourself the question, do I need a rebrand? Is this a thing that I need? What I have is functional. Do I really need this? And that's okay. It's okay to ask that question. And maybe the answer is no. Maybe you don't need a rebrand. But if you can look objectively at what you have and ask yourself that question, and the answer is not a resounding, I'm good, then we should talk. Because this has been a tremendous transformation for Beth Masterman. And if she had not had this experience, who knows? Who knows? But I know that now she has the tools that she needs to feel so strong and so capable and so complete. Thank you for being with me on this tour behind the brand of Mastermind Executive Coaching.